Today, I wanted to speak to you about your contract of employment. So, really, what I want to speak to you about is if you're starting a new job, what sort of things you should look out for in your contract of employment. Because it can be quite a lengthy document and you don't want to miss anything before it's too late, because after you've signed it, it's harder to make changes to that contract. So, I'm going to go through a few things that I would look out for when I am signing my contract. So I've got 8 points and they are personal to me. So, as we are all individuals, you may not necessarily find some of the things that I will discuss important to you. There may be other things on your list, but what I would suggest is you make your own list before you review your contract of employment and make sure you can identify everything within that contract. And if you can't, you could then go back to the individual recruiting you and ask the questions on where you can find that information. Because sometimes it might not necessarily be detailed within the contract of employment, it may be in an additional document like an addendum, or it may be in a handbook, or it may be in internal policies. But it is good to know all that information up front before you sign to ensure your expectations are aligned with what the company offers. So, first up, and in no particular order, I would always check the date of employment. The start date of employment is as agreed. Now, that should definitely be in the contract of employment. Next, I will be checking for the salary to make sure that the salary matches what has been agreed verbally, and that should also be in the contract of employment. I would also be looking for what my annual leave entitlement is, and that should be somewhere within the contract of employment. You may also want to look for information around if the annual leave that you are given, if there is a specific amount of days that may be deducted around the Christmas holidays or any other holidays, because some companies do say 3 days may need to be reserved over the Christmas period. Or some companies potentially give you that period off in addition to that annual leave. So it's really good to double check what your annual leave entitlement includes. Can you take it all whenever you wish to take it? Just going back to salary, it's also really important to know, well, for me, the date I will receive my salary and how it will be paid. And that should also be included with the contract of employment. Now, this is definitely something that's important to me. Hybrid working. So I work fully remotely. So if I were to be looking for a new job, I would definitely want something to either be fully remotely or hybrid working. And I would definitely want that outlined within my contract of employment. I wouldn't want to just informally agree something with management, and then when I started with the company, actually that isn't the expectation. You could potentially be expected to come in 5 days a week, or the hybrid working that you thought was quite flexible actually turns out to not be as flexible. So I would definitely want that detailed within the contract of employment. And that may not necessarily be detailed within your contract of employment. So that may be something you would have to discuss with them for it to be added, or it may be that there is a separate policy on that. So you might want to just ask for visibility of that before the signing of the contract, if that is something that's really important to you. I would also want to know what my notice period is. If I was going to leave the company, how much notice I would need to give them, and vice versa. If they needed to terminate me, how much notice they would need to give me. And that usually is detailed within your contract of employment. Another important one for me is the bonus. If I am entitled to a bonus and what percentage I would be entitled to, and also if it's based on just my performance or the company performance. There's also, some companies have bonus clauses in which it's stated that if you were to leave employment after you've received your bonus, you may have to pay part or all of it back. So it's really important to look out for that if there is that clause within the contract. And a lot of the time, if you've handed your resignation in, you won't receive your bonus. So you want to look out for those clauses and ask for confirmation if you're unsure of the wording within that contract. Another biggie for me is to know my sick leave entitlement. Now, I'm not saying that I am planning to go off sick, but if unfortunately I did end up unwell, I would want to know that I don't need to worry about my finances. Now, a lot of big organisations do have enhanced sick pay. So that's in addition to statutory sick pay. However, a lot of smaller companies don't necessarily offer company enhanced sick pay, or not as advantageous as the bigger companies offer. But this can completely differ from one company to the next. So it's really important for you to understand that sick leave policy if that is something that's important to you. Now, this is generally not detailed within the contract of employment. There's usually a separate policy for this. And if this is something that is important to you, you may wish to ask to have visibility of this before signing the contract, or just ask the question about what sort of sick leave entitlement employees are entitled to at that company. And lastly, I would want to know what sort of benefits the company offers. So for me, I would be very interested in what pension scheme the company offers, how much I contribute, how much the company contributes. Do they offer private medical insurance, which is a company funded benefit? Do they offer dental insurance? And this is very individual to you. The benefits that I might be very interested in might not necessarily be what you're interested in, but for me, I would want to know the benefits. And this again is not usually detailed within the contract of employment, although usually pension contributions are, and maybe some benefits, but you may need to ask some more questions on the benefits before signing that contract if this is something that's important to you and it's not detailed within that contract of employment. So I think at the beginning I said that I had 8 areas that were very important to me. I'm not sure if I've listed 8 or 9 now, but those are the things that I would be looking for. So, but they may not be what you're necessarily really interested in. So what I would suggest to you is for you to make your own individual list of what's really important to you when you're starting a new job, and then going through the contract of employment and seeing if you can identify all those areas within it. And if you can't, then speaking to the hiring manager or the recruiter and asking for clarity before you sign that contract. Because once you sign the contract, it is harder to make any changes, or it might be impossible to make any changes, and then it's too late. You're starting that job. So it's really good to iron out all the queries you have at the beginning of that employment. Well, thank you very much for watching. And if you have any comments at all, please leave them in the comment section. And yeah, see you next time. Bye.